Okay, it is 5:15, November 5th. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ashley, you want to do a roll call?
Lindberg.
Here.
Shaven.
Here.
Kroger. Here. Peterson.
Here.
Thank you.
We have been presented the agenda. I don't think there are any changes, additions, removals. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Lindberg, second by Peterson.
Roll call Lindberg.
Aye.
Shaven.
Aye.
Kroger. Aye. Peterson. Thank you.
Any conflicts, state those now, or if you forget, do it along the way when we get to where you're bothered by something. So, consent agenda, it's all under one motion, one roll call. We have minutes of the October 15th, 24 council meeting and minutes of the October 29th council work session. We have the claims list, 1325, the amount of $165,620.67. We have a list of some larger amounts. Anybody see anything there they have questions about or concerns?
Mayor, I was just going to comment that with the pool repairs, as you saw that large item on the claims list, had previously commented on when the painting and repair was done, we had budgeted $60,000 for that. It ended up being $69,000. Again, that was due to the removing all of the caulking and resealing all that, some additional transition crack repair to the deep, and then also some additional safety painting that was minimal to it. Yet either that will be an amendment or if it can make with buildings, grounds, and maintenance. So
Okay.
just, it was commented on in the report, but just wanted to clarify that with you all.
Anything else, anybody? A motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Kroger.
Roll call Lindberg.
Aye.
Shaven.
Aye.
Kroger. Aye. Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Under present to be heard, we have Alex Londo talking about the value of strat op process for Shelby County Emergency Agency. Alex,
Hey,
how are you tonight?
going. How about you
Hey.
guys?
Good.
Well, thank you for having me up here. I won't take too much of your time. So I think Gene had put the actual proposal in your packet, so I'm going to go through it basically line by line. But so essentially after the tornado and flooding that we've had, we were able to utilize a lot of our emergency plans and found a glaring gap in the recovery aspect of that and just how we recover. We nailed the emergency part, but the recovery is something that we need to improve on. We're very fortunate in that a group of citizens just stopped in and said, hey, we want to help with this. And one of them happened to be Jim Shelton with Oak Road Consulting, and after we kind of went through the cleanup process and a lot of the recovery, he had offered to help us kind of plan for the future and come together and develop a working plan, not necessarily for the emergency side, but more on the recovery side. So I told him that we have something that we were interested in at emergency management, and I'm going to go around, my plan is to go around to every city council, hopefully by when this happens, and do the same presentation and just say it's really important if we're going to get value out of this to have participation from every city and board of supervisors and utilities and whoever else that we can get to come to the table and kind of all work together to plan for Shelby County as a whole and not just for one individual town or the unincorporated areas or something like that. So we scheduled a time. It's going to be like a one-day training and then maybe a part of the day the next day. So we got January 17th on the book. January 17th on the books. Again, we're looking at just having elected officials and other stakeholders at these meetings. It's not going to be something that's open to the public. But I'd like to at least get a minimum mayor and a city council person from every town to attend this. And I'll send out information as I get it. But right now all I have is the information, the one-page information paper. So.
Alex, you said on January 17th, is that where you holding that at?
I have to call Kelly. We just talked about it this afternoon, but I have to call Kelly so we can do it at the church. That's where I'd like to do it.
And you had mentioned utilities as well, right?
Yeah, I'd like to get HMU. I think you guys went through this already. HMU did.
Similar.
Internally, yes.
Yeah, so this would essentially be very similar to what you guys have already done.
Okay.
But then also bring in the regional water, and then I doubt we'll get anybody from Mid-America, but we can always ask them to, so. Yeah.
You did it, Joe, you brought somebody from the outside in to help, or you guys just did it internally on your own? or-
Yeah, I did it internally with Strat. So it was just basically me and all the managers of the different utilities. It was about I think we had 2 full days of sitting down and just going through strategies and, you know, it was helpful. I mean, as far as, you know, who's our customer, how do we better help the customer, you know, how do we plan ahead on projects and into the future as far as any type of expansion. I mean, so, yeah, we did that, God, it's probably going on a year and a half ago already.
Don't recall, did you able to use Oak Road as well?
Yes, yeah, it was Jim and Pete, are the ones that kind of presided.
So
over
similar to
it.
what this would be facilitated by?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, previous, like I said, it's almost the exact same thing, but directed more towards the recovery from disasters instead of utility bills. So, again, I think Jim had his initial proposal was for 3 full days and then check-in days throughout a year, and I kind of told him, you know, we have elected officials that have full-time jobs, this isn't their full-time job, we need to condense it down to maybe 1 day and then an afternoon or a morning or something later, but, you know, trying to work with everybody's schedule the best we could, so. Yeah, like I said, I'll send out an invite to everybody. Our plan is to go around the rest of the city councils around the county, and I've already talked with the board of supervisors about it. But January 17th, I'd like to have at least somebody there.
And if you could ensure that Ashley, in addition to myself, you know, my transition, just to ensure that from a key contact in City Hall,
Yep.
that she's on that. Eventually, she'll be getting most of that communication in the near term anyway, so.
Okay. Oh, sounds good.
I would guess there is a fee for their services. Is that covered by your area, or
Yes.
each city
No,
chips in, or what?
we're gonna use the training funds that we have for emergency management to kind of use this, because normally the training funds that we have is set aside for me to go to different conferences and things, and I've got my CEU hours relatively cheap this year, so the cost is gonna come from emergency management, so there won't be any cost back to the cities. Plus, it's something that's gonna help us down the road with writing these emergency plans that we have to do anyway throughout the years, and this will just be a more collaborative effort rather than a plan that checks a box and sits on a shelf, so.
County Board of Soups, maybe you spoke to them as well, would they'll be included, or?
Not, yes, not as, I haven't done this presentation with the board of supervisors, but I've talked to Bryce and
Right.
Steve.
That's right.
Both have, initially, I think Jim had made the presentation to Steve Kinkle with the board of supervisors, and he said, well, you need to talk to Alex about doing this. So, they're on board as well with doing it.
Do you have like an estimated cost of what this would be to partner with
The
him?
first proposal that he gave us was for $20,000 to do this 3-day class. With it just being 1 day, he hasn't given me a firm dollar amount, but I'm anticipating half of that, about $10,000, which is within our budget, but, yeah, he's not, been talking with Jim, and if he were here, I'm sure he'd say the same thing, because he said it to me in every meeting that we've had with him. He's not worried about the cost of it. He wants to do it to see the communities succeed moving forward. I'm also going to be looking at different grants that I can do to apply for this, because there are some FEMA grants out there, given that we're in a disaster declaration, that could help fund it, so those aren't definite.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Questions for Alex? Okay, thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
I don't think we need to act on anything for that, do we? No, just more.
No, this was information only, and
All right, under other business, approve the engagement letter with Allers and Cooney regarding the amended and restated urban revitalization plan. It's just one of those,
Quite the
there's a few pages there to look at.
What pages? Yeah.
fee structure.
Glad we're looking at this in November, not December.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Look to my
a,
left or look
we
to my
have
right.
two more, it's a two-part process after
Okay.
this, so.
This is related to our urban revitalization, the urban revitalization plan. It's a tongue twister for me tonight for some reason. That had commented on previously to you that we were awaiting this letter due to every 10 years. It was adopted for 2005, every 10 years. It needs to be relooked at if it's desired to be continued. The main component of that component is the utilization and offer of tax abatement as a strategy and a tool for development. We've had it in our plan, it got overlooked in 2015, so those of you here may remember that by the time we noted that, it was readopted with a back date to 2015, and in 2025 it's set to expire again. So in the packet was, again, a lot of reading. That is the original and the original restated plan in 2018. Ashley and I met with Oliver and Cooney yesterday, went through the engagement letter and spoke with them about they provided a red line, some of the changes or considerations. We'll include that for the next meeting, which you can set the public hearing. The use of tax abatement is a common strategy, and I don't know many rural areas that don't have that in their toolbox. I would offer and recommend, I'm sure Todd would support this as well, that we continue to have that in our toolbox. And as it's stated, and I shared, I think the 2 pages with you at the last either work session or P&F meeting, which for residential, it's 3 years at 75,000. Excuse me, 5 years at 75,000 of improved value. And then for commercial, it is 3 years for 100% value. I think I've got those numbers right, but you'll see it in the red line version. Due to the legislative change with House File 718, the schools are protected from this with the most recent legislation change. So school property taxes are still paid and thus aren't abated, so that they're less impact on the school side of this. And the last item we spoke about with Nathan Overberg, who the engagement letter is from, is multi-residential. So that's 3 dwelling units or more. In our plan for the past 20 years, we've treated multi-residential as residential and eligible. With the last legislative change as well, it allows for being able to call out a separate scale for multi-residential. Again, 3 separate dwelling units or more, that you could adopt a separate schedule up to 10 years of abatement. We briefly talked on it with Nathan yesterday and received his information. Won't go in a lot of depth on it, but I'll include it in your packet when it goes out. Although it sounds appealing and enticing, and Todd, we could further discuss this separately as well, that on the surface it may seem, if you're wanting to incent more multifamily or multi-residential properties such as apartment units, that might be attractive. However, the flip side to that is with the phase out, can't remember which year, but multi-residential in terms of rollback has been phased out. And we've talked about this at budget sessions, so I'm not expecting you to remember it all. But multi-residential used to be at 90% rollback, like commercial, and the legislature so it was to phase out. So we're now phased out so that multi-residential and residential have the same rollback. So from a taxation and rollback standpoint, they're treated the same. Thus, I think from an abatement standpoint, you might want to look at it similarly, unless there's some desire to I mean, and you can be adopted as you want to go with a 5-year 100%, a 7-year 100%, or keep it the same as residential. So the engagement letter is to have Allers update and restate this plan, prepare all the legal proceedings, ensure we're complying with the recent state law changes, and the cost for those services is $3,000. And I guess the other option is we simply just let it phase out and don't do it. And that isn't something I would recommend. So that way up in the public hearing will be set at the next council meeting. Ashley, any comments you want to make or questions from you all? That's the background of this engagement letter.
Okay,
Is this something we've been doing year after year?
Yes,
Since
and it requires a
2005.
it requires a property owner. And it's been helpful in development
We use
discussions.
it in a lot of commercial development around here. You know,
Right.
We haven't had a whole lot of larger housing developments take place, but definitely have used it on the commercial side.
And it's essentially, it's an incentive. And it's a delay in when it will actually hit the tax rolls, but, long-term, it definitely helps offset the tax burden on everyone else when it does hit the tax rolls.
anybody else?
And just to clarify that, Mike, the flat fee, where was this talking about the billable hours? Is that if we chose not to do this? If we were to talk about
Yes, if there was a separate,
on top of that?
correct.
Okay, that's what I just want to know, okay.
Yep, it's flat fee. We don't anticipate going over in any manner.
Okay.
Can't expect that. I don't anticipate that
I was very
whatsoever.
glad to put that in there, but I just wanted to make sure, clarify that.
Good question.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the engagement letter with Allers and CUNY?
I'll make that motion, all right.
Second.
Motion by Lindberg, second by Kroger.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Then next, we need to receive and file the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting minutes from October 21st of 2024.
Motion.
Motion by Kroger, second by Shaven.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
And out of that meeting, a few items we need to address. Approve the agreement for IT services with Harlan Municipal Utilities beginning January 1 of 2025. Anybody have
Discussed this
questions about
at the PNF meeting, 2 PNF meetings. Yet, quick summary is this is something we've been considering. We believe it's a great partnership and formally contracting for services with HMU with their new hire. And he started first part of September, more or less, or October.
Yes, first part of September, it was,
Right.
yeah.
So what this allows us to do is have consistency and also at some point our current provider, which has been CAS Computers, primarily Dee Dee Schnicken, would phase out. She's aware of this transition and supports that. The past 3 years, we've averaged 100 years of IT billable hours with Dee Dee. This contract allows for 196 hours, so very similar to that, which is roughly $10,000. Anything over that would be a rate of 82, 83, which again, that's all in the agreement. And if we were to go to market for, that would be 1.5 to 2 times that for that support and service. So we think that is more than reasonable. We've also, through our initial budget discussions with each department head, we are anticipating, just due to transition, possible recommendations, some upgrades needed, that we've asked each department to up their technology budget a little bit for the 25-26 year to accommodate for that, thinking that will.
Yeah, upgrade some
Be around.
computers and.
So, and again, this is for services, it's not for equipment, it's not for new servers, which what we analyzed was the hourly contract support. It wasn't for equipment that we've been replacing or updating as as recommended. Yet with this partnership and having a new set of eyes, there might be some recommended changes sooner, or we could get some longer life or some updates and patches to things that won't be as expensive. So, questions, comments, or items I've missed?
Does this include the library?
No.
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, I just checking.
Library is contracted and went through a couple providers, and they're quite pleased with the current relationship. And it's a group from Carroll, and for the life of me, I can't think of the name.
Dennison.
Oh, it's Dennison, thank
Yep.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Professional
Yes.
computer
Yeah.
solutions.
PCS. something,
Yeah.
And Brian with HMU had met with, as part of this pre-discussion determination process, had not only met with Dee Dee, but also spoke with a man at the library about how he envisioned, kind of, all parties have agreed that, at least for initial, is to not interrupt a good thing going at the library. And, evaluate a year or two into this, if it makes sense to bring the library into this fold, and we would consider that.
Thank you.
Is this starting off as a 6-month contract, or is this a yearly, could be a
It's
year?
going through
Yeah, we
fiscal
were
year
trying to
end.
get it through
Yeah.
fiscal year.
Okay, so June 30th is the
And then
expiration, and then,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
And then
Start off to where we're on the fiscal
Okay.
year.
I just had seen June 30th in there, so I just wanted to clarify.
Fiscal year, yeah.
Makes sense. I have no further questions.
Anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agreement for the IT services with HMU?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Lindberg, second by Peterson.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson. Thank you.
Good thing. Thank you.
Next up, we have Resolution 2583, Urban Renewal Joint Agreement to allow TIF urban renewal projects to occur within 2 miles of the Harlan city limits.
Had previously referenced this as well. We had received this. We've been in this partnership before on similar other projects. This is specific to the new development with the Agriland FS, which the fact that that development is within 2 miles of city limits. It's the notification with the county's intent to utilize TIF for supportive infrastructure, and similar to what they had done with expansion and support with the dairy. And that agreement had expired. And then this with new development and new valuation, that's what this request is. And it's specific to that parcel in the legal description, is what that reference is there. And it simply allows them to, for eligible expenses and projects for support of that project related infrastructure, would allow them to utilize TIF. We've done it before. I don't see a reason from my lens, I mean, ultimately it's up to you, to permit for that.
Anybody have any questions about that one?
And Dorsey and Whitney is their urban renewal and urban renewal advisor, similar to what we would use with Allers and Cooney for helping us with our UR projects. If you're curious who Dorsey and Whitney is.
Appreciate the explanation.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2583.
Second.
Motion by Kroger, second by Lindberg.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, we look at to approve the wood pole inspection agreement with EXO.
Again, this reviewed with the Personnel and Finance. This is specific to some of our sports lighting facilities, specifically tennis courts and also J.J. Jensen, that have many aging wood poles. The Utilities is contracted with EXO and has them in for a second time. And soon after they, HMU had reviewed and approved their recent proposal, we also reached out to them from a public safety, and we'll call it a mini insurance policy. At some point, we know the JJ lighting needs to be replaced, and that project has started, at least in terms of funding and fundraising. Also to have a professional assessment of the condition of those poles, access to the portal to review those records at any time. And in some of the poles, specifically the tennis courts, they can apply treatments, and that's well beyond my professional and wood pole expertise, yet they can extend the useful life and performance of those structures. The minimum cost would be $2,000. The maximum cost if they did treated and fumigated every pole, which we don't expect that, it could be a maximum of $4,000. We would intend to use the buildings, grounds, and maintenance line item out of our parks budget. As I commented on before, it's not a significant dollar amount, yet wanted to make you aware due to the pool repairs that I previously mentioned, as well as, this expense, if it requires some amendment next spring, at least we're fully aware of it. Tim Miller's been excellent in helping champion this, and we've met with this group a couple of times, and they would deploy and mobilize the same time that they would do the HMU project, and we've gotten some preferred pricing on that.
Yeah, so they didn't, was it a year ago or a year and a half ago, they inspected all the poles between here and Avoca along the highway, our transmission line. Same thing there, treated the ones that they felt needed treated. They did call out, I think, a couple poles that we're gonna have to replace, which Burns Electric, our current contractor, was low bid on doing that work. But this fall, we'll have them pretty short orders when they're gonna come in, and they're actually gonna inspect our 69 kV line that goes around the city from substation to substation 2, to get those poles all inspected, treated if needed, same thing, so.
Do you recall, Joe, how many number of poles were involved in this phase for you?
I'd hate to say, I mean.
Yeah, not critical, but what
But I
we
mean, I
learned.
think we were, for some reason, I'm wanting to say 140.
Yeah, so the number of poles within the scope of work for the city is 52. And as we were speaking with the EXO representative, their normal traditional engagements are usually 1,500, 2,000, 3,000
Yeah, they got miles and miles, yeah.
So just in terms of scale,
Knock that out in an afternoon.
yeah, it's wonderful when we can, share information, be aware of what's, happening with each entity that we can, so got some additional pricing and not incurring mobilization expenses pretty significant on a small project.
So if they find something, they would treat it, and if it needs to be replaced, they would recommend it be replaced, and then we would, like you guys did bids on
Yeah.
someone else coming in to replace them then?
Replace them, correct.
And yes, so
Don't they label?
simple answer is yes.
They tag it or something like a condition, like, okay.
Tag it, they'll give you a score or rating. If it's at failure, they'll not only put it in the report, but verbally notify us. And then we have portal access to those records at any time.
So you already have them coming out to do something, so basically,
Yeah.
contingent on our approval, then basically they'll just schedule it at the same time. so it's
Same
right
time,
under the
correct,
price.
just to save on mobilization costs or
Yep.
trip charges, I guess, basically.
Makes sense.
Okay, is there a motion to approve wood pole inspection agreement?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion by Lindberg, second by Shaven.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven, Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Small price to pay to have one fall over and land on somebody or the cars. More damage or hurts.
Yeah, it's better than this type of.
Yeah.
That sounds good. More expertise than.
Scratch it back out. There we go.
Yeah.
Like picking out a melon.
Yes.
Moving on. Resolution number 2584, approving the revised job description of the city administrator for the city of Harlan, Iowa. Everybody get a chance to look at the revised version that was talked about?
This was from your last work session. Jen Malone, I think, was a primary individual who had made the adjustments based upon your recommendations. And Ashley, please help me out here. Yet the two primary items were removal of, where it stated accounting or civic
Number
systems.
10, yep.
And knowledge and, working knowledge and experience with an accounting civic system, which again, that's not pertinent. It's a good separation of duties and isn't relevant, what you all felt, and I certainly concur with that, and I don't think that's, and then the other was
The education,
under the,
Number 5 on the first page.
Yeah, correct. We had
Collaboration.
Yep.
Just
Expanded
the sheriff's office in there.
HMU.
oh, yes, that was in item 5 in terms of specifically identifying HMU, other municipalities, sheriff's office. And then where, the last item, education or experience equivalent to a bachelor's degree in public administration, finance related field. Another item that was discussed and questioned and got more clarity was about the ability to be bonded, item 11, and opportunity to follow up on that. And again, this says must be able to, it doesn't say shall be yet. That is simply in terms of considered similar to a criminal or financial background check. And if an individual you want to hire in this position is of good standing and doing background and credit checks, and then also our blanket surety policy. In talking with our agent, this position is already covered on that, under that. Yet, wouldn't be a reason to change this. It's not saying that there'll be a separate bond, but create an expectation that this person is of standing and credibility, that they could be bonded, set that expectation. Did I miss anything, Ashley?
nope, those were the
I guess from
main,
your discussion that,
For the workshop.
in the workshop.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. I would look for a motion to approve resolution 2584.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Lindberg.
roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item D is approve the job posting for the city administrator position. Everybody get a chance to look at that?
Jen did an excellent job putting that
I think it
together.
looks good.
earlier.
Jen did,
Yes,
yep.
very good.
Yep,
It looked-
all Jen.
Very good.
I figured she used AI after our seminars done in 2 minutes.
She actually used the one that was sent and kind
Yeah,
of
that's
went off
where our general
that.
discussion, because it was.
That was the one you guys liked, and she,
Was it too busy?
I
Has the
forwarded
points
that to
crossed?
her,
One
and
page,
she,
yeah. They can go to the website for more details.
Yep.
Perfect.
They can send it to you or to Jay?
I don't know how that got in there. All right, so our motion to approve the job posting.
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Peterson, second by Kroger.
roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
This will go tomorrow.
Yep,
It
Will in
will,
office by Wednesday, 28th and 4th. Okay.
so this will reach multiple audiences between professional organizations, statewide on the league site. Also, we'll be able to get that to adjoining states on there, at least within, there's equivalent organizations in Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Missouri for city managers that with our Midwest, so we'll hit those audiences as well as our website and Facebook and the traditional channels. Starting tomorrow.
Unless you're changing your mind.
We didn't see the amended agenda coming out for that session.
Moving on. City Administrator's Report.
Second to last one.
We can put special meetings out there to get more,
Yeah.
get your money's worth.
A couple of project updates and tidbits that are going on, report to you. The Municipal Pipe and Tool has been doing the first phase of our sewer lining and rehab project. Again, that $1.2 million project. They intend to be done this week. Overall, it's gone well. There's been a few hiccups, which I don't know if there's any project that doesn't have a few hiccups. Although the team, I say team, between the field and City Hall has been very diligent in trying to push out and keep citizens notified as to when the service and being TV and flushing lines is happening. So we needed a few check-ins and reality checks with the contractor on that, but it's gotten better. We don't have a tentative date as to when the second phase will begin. Best guess is whether, realistically December now. And again, the lining phase can be done in cooler weather, certainly, but don't have a phase 2 start yet. And they won't be released to do so until they get a notice to proceed on the second phase after our engineer, Todd Penston, has reviewed all those to ensure that there aren't any other points or failure points or items that need to be corrected other than the lining. So appreciate the public's patience with that, and just be aware that phase 2 will be happening. Just don't have a kickoff date for that yet.
The sign is now back up.
Did you put it up?
Yeah, you might need to stake that down out front here. It was tipped
I wasn't
over.
aware of that.
It was
Yeah, we
like,
picked it back up, but it's pretty top heavy.
Mayor had to lend his muscles to
Oh.
Richard and I. We were trying to.
Yeah.
Was not aware of that.
Richard showed up, Kyle and I were
Yeah.
under
We
hands
need to get
and
some
knees.
sandbags.
That wasn't any Halloween ghouls and goblins
Nope.
that created that?
No.
No. It was just laying there, so it might need to be staked down, because it's pretty top heavy going that way.
And we certainly haven't had any wind recently.
Yeah.
No.
Chuckle, chuckle. Okay, thank you for that. There's been an ongoing unfinished street excavation at 8th and Euclid that has unfortunately prolonged too long. And it was due to a sewer repair on a property, yet when it needs to go back out of the main, you got to excavate into the street. Long story short, that is expected to be put back in place this week as there's conducive weather. Yet we are internally reviewing our processes, notifications, and accountability with permitting so that these don't go unexcavated and remain a public safety issue for 3 to 4 weeks. And we have it in our code presently that, not to be too windy on this, but just to create awareness for you, that if anytime a street excavation takes place, it has to be permitted and approved by the city, so that's happened with this project. Yet with working with local contractors, we have the option to require bonds and insurance, and we traditionally haven't, yet we have guidelines and code that could start requiring that. In addition, we have code language that says if it doesn't get remedied, that we will correct it and have it billed or assessed to the property. And this one's required some extra TLC and expectations, but we're also going to review internally to be sure we have everything in line. So if you've heard any complaints or concerns about that 8th and Euclid area, we've been clearly aware of it, working with the property owner and the contractor. Yet we can do better there as well. So I want to make you all aware of that. Continued on the sewer topic, a week from Thursday, which will be November 13th, our sewer line warranty program and partner, we've set up a time for them to meet with a couple of local contractors who've had ongoing questions and concerns about their program. Presently, there are about 225 households who have signed up for that sewer line warranty protection, and there's been 6 or 7 claims that where there's been coverage and reimbursement applied. But at 3 o'clock on the 13th, I'll send more information out on this, but we'll be meeting with the representatives via Zoom and our local contractors to provide a question and answer session and hopefully gain clarification. I know Mayor Jay and Councilperson Jenny Kelly met the representatives up at our league conference, and so Ashley and Steve Bernowski, and then their contracting representative will join us as well. But I'll be sending more information on that. 5 city staff attended an AI, artificial intelligence, sounds like kind of James Bondish, but kind of is when you think of AI. Yet thanks to Todd and Chamber and Industry and also Oak Road Consulting for hosting that session. 20 attendees, Todd?
Yeah.
More or less?
I think we ended up with, close to 20. We were hoping to get 30, but I think we had 20 that made it, yeah.
And we had 5 city staff across various departments and some city hall staff to a great opportunity, and it was available to all businesses, and it's a very powerful tool, and continue to encourage our public staff to use it, encourage businesses to find ways that can enhance them as well. And this is Gene's last, or my perspective on it, because similar to many things, because there's been federal legislation on AI and how it's being used, should there be more regulations around it, and the best parallel analogy that it's similar to weapons and guns, and that is a very hot debate when that comes up. So similar to weapons and guns, those can be used for good things and bad things. No different than AI. It's the individual accountable who's driving AI, who's operating the piece of equipment, who's operating the weapon. So for me, that just really crystallizes it. And AI is very similar. You can do some really, but when we used properly, it's a disservice, at least on the public side, to our taxpayers if we aren't utilizing it to become more efficient. And we've been doing so. And some of you are smart, maybe you're using it in your businesses too, but it's some incredibly powerful tools. So thanks again to Todd and the Chamber.
It's almost a bit scary.
Ours is blocked.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Additionally, another session we had over 20 staff in our annual training on fire prevention and drug and alcohol awareness. So got that certification and updated training, and it was always helpful and supportive to reinforce that culture and being safety minded and aware. So that took place on the 20th. And the last 2 items I have are, as shared before, but this is an update, that there are a handful of the Decorative street lights in the downtown area. That, again, most people don't notice them, but if you pay close attention, you'll just notice that a couple of those decorative street lights are out. Just recently, so the most recent update is, and I looked to Joe because Stephen and the electric crew got a couple of them working.
Right.
Continue to work with the vendor contractor and wanting a tech to come out, because there's at least 8 and maybe less now that we got a couple
And I
working.
think parts are becoming a little more scarce on them too, those diodes.
Yet to say that it's, at minimum it's $1,600 a head and fixture, which, so we're getting more information. Don't have it yet to determine if it's something we need to budget for next year. Yet again, if you're aware that a couple of decorative streetlights are out downtown, we're clearly aware of that. Yet between all the Christmas lights and the lights around the buildings and the lights that are existing, there's no public safety issue. Just an update on that. And then lastly, as we're rolling in the budget season, next Wednesday will be the opportunity, this next Wednesday evening will be the work session for department heads to share with you their line item budgets. And just in the last week, the state did release the rollback schedules for next year. And without boring you too much, it's a 1% positive in the residential rollback going from 46 to 47, roughly, in terms of residential rollback. And I'll show you some information when we do the budget hearings, but it's essentially going to be a wash. And remember last year it went from 54 down to 46 for residential rollback, which, 62% of our valuation is residential. But last year was a valuation year. So but the residential rollback and all the other rollbacks came out a week ago, and the net of all that's kind of a net zero and a wash, even though it's a 46 to 47 on the residential. And I know Ashley and Jen will be attending the budget workshop
Next
in Red
Thursday.
Oak next Thursday. So they'll get more hands-on, as well as road use tax per capita, and
Is that down in Red Oak?
Mm-hmm.
it's in Red Oak.
Is that Overberg or whatever that's gonna be teaching that from?
Mickey Shields.
Oh, this is like, okay.
Yeah, Mickey, and then sometimes,
I thought I seen some like the TIF funds and all the budget, all that stuff coming in. Never mind, I'm sorry.
No.
Department of Revenue, Ted Nellison. Ted will likely be there. He usually does the. That's all I have, unless you have comments or questions for me.
How's the yard waste site doing? Is it open, full, closed?
Yes, it's open.
Open, okay. I was curious. Hadn't heard, I haven't been down there for a while. so.
There've been a couple periods where we had some technical issues with cameras, but those are corrected now. Brian was a huge help with that at HMU. Yeah,
Okay.
been one or two instances of some dumping, but once you go back and find them on camera, but not up to the nature where we needed to close it or to come to you with council and say we need to put a moratorium on.
Very good, thank you.
But yeah, if anyone has questions regarding that, certainly direct them to myself or Jack Busey probably, or possibly Jack with code enforcement if they.
All right,
And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
thanks, Gene. Under my report, I have one item to reappoint Al Ickes to the HMU Board of Trustees for a 6-year term expiring on November 20th of 2030. He's filled in
He filled in for
Nella.
No.
yes,
Or remaining term.
to finish out her term, so.
Wants to do it for another 6.
Sign them up.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Lindberg, second by Shaven.
Roll call Lindberg,
Aye.
Shaven,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Thank you.
A 6-year term, that's a commitment though. When you think about it in terms, right, that's a,
Same with the airport commission.
yeah.
Yeah, I've reached out to a couple of the ones that I've appointed, and there's a little learning curve down there. It
Yeah.
might take 6 years to learn it all.
Yeah.
It changes every year, so it's kind of like, but they sound like they're willing to learn, so I think they're doing a
We
pretty
got a
good
big
job.
group with,
Yeah.
Brett Burnett and everybody now.
Yep. All right, next up, we have Shelby County Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Todd?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Todd.
Meeting, Todd.
Just a few items. Happy to announce that we have a new business opening on Saturday called Schmidt Motor Works. It's where Dave's Auto Body used to be. And so from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. they're going to be having an open house. And at 11 a.m. we'll have a ribbon cutting and welcome them to the community. Then we'll also have another ribbon cutting. It'll be on Monday, November 18th. And it'll start at 4. It's going to be at Mertu Medical Center, and it's a ribbon cutting for the new ER and for the new cafeteria. And they'll also have an open house where people can walk through and look at things. A reminder that Monday, November 18th from 5 to 6:30, the Harlan Lion Club is doing their pre-Thanksgiving dinner. Now, they've done this for the past few years now. They hold it at First Baptist Church. There's no charge to attend. It's a wonderful meal. All you have to do, though, is you do have to RSVP. And they're asking that folks RSVP by this coming Sunday by calling 712-579-6504. If you get a voicemail, just leave your name and the number of people that you're reserving for. Another thing with MERTU, their medical center grant application is now being accepted for healthcare education. This grant comes through the Lucille Peterson Endowment Fund. It's for either short-term or long-term medical education for folks. November 30th is the deadline to put your application in. So they ask that you give Ruth a call at 712-755-4316 and she'll get you an application for the program. A couple of days late, but congratulations to Elmcrest Senior Living. Back on the 30th, it's been 25 years since they opened up their assisted living doors. So congratulations to them. I know, 25 years. But, and the building was fantastic. And then finally, a reminder that the Honoring Our Veterans Breakfast is this Sunday from 7 to noon. It'll be at the American Legion Building. And scrambled eggs, biscuits and gravy, toast, bacon, lots of different stuff. I'm sorry, not at, it's at the Veterans Building.
It's at the Veterans
Building,
Building,
not at the Legion Building. I was thinking of another meeting that's coming up, it's at the Legion.
What time was that, Todd?
That is from 7 to 10, 7 to noon on Sunday. And other than that, that's about it for the updates from the chamber today.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd.
HMU, Joe Ruschenberg.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
A few updates here. Couple of updates on our projects. Raw water project update. McCarthy Trenching and their subcontractors are still got to finish up a few small punch list items. But their one subcontractor, Cavoy Pump Service, is drilling well 35 right now. That deep well we talked about actually started last week. Last week they had one breakdown, but the attempt was to drill 24 hours, 2 12-hour shifts. They did that Monday through Thursday, and then just one 12-hour shift on Friday. They were shut down for the weekend. Started back up yesterday, so planning on this week again, probably through Friday morning, 24 hours a day, drilling again. Right now they're approximately 105 feet in the ground. Bottom of that well is going to be 315 feet. So it's going slow. I mean, they're having some problems with the clay material, trying to get that, keep the bit clean, so forth. So it's been going pretty slow until they kind of get in some different material. Maybe it'll speed up a little bit for them. Could last into next week as far as getting the drilling down to 315. Be likely the end of the month before the casing's set and the well is developed or cleaned up and test pumped. Then McCarthy would start on the mound, get that constructed, extend the conduit and the mains to that well from the other system that we put in, get the footings paved, blocks set, etc. Hopefully have that online by the end of December, possibly into January, that we'd have that well finished and online. So things are progressing. Like I said, the drilling's going a little slower than we thought, but I mean, they're slowly getting it done. On our overhead to underground electric project, boring subcontractors finishing up a little bit of cleanup. The general contractor, Burns Electric, is working on the alley, east alley here behind Lake Floral Elegance Sandwich Bowl, that alley there. They're trying to get the new conduit underground and surfacing poured back this week. They got the north half kind of done as far as conduit in the ground and the surfacing back. Granted, we got to do the hookups to the buildings and everything yet, but they're trying to get that surfacing, trying to get everything underground and get the surfacing back, so at least it isn't all dug up, at that point, get the trenches filled back in. They do have there's 3 old underground vaults that have equipment in there. They still have to get those opened up, the equipment taken out, those backfilled, and the surfacing put back. But they are moving along pretty good on that project. But that is, like I said, I think getting the trench or getting the conduit in the ground is a big part of the work. So once they get that done, pretty good feat there on that part. Another item, I think you noticed, we were trying to put some storm sewer in along Utility Avenue. We actually, this will be about our third time of trying it. We got part of it in, and it seemed like every time rain wasn't forecasted, and we got an inch or two, boom, overnight. So now, it sounds like McCarthy's gonna be back in town middle of next week, and we would get that project finished up, get the rest of that storm sewer in. We've got about half of it in, so they get the other half in, and we finish that project up. And then after that, the McCarthy trenching was the low on our doing the excavating for us on the utility extensions to the Agrland FS facility south of Monogram. So they would run to that project next, so that could be probably not next week, the following week that they would possibly be on that project. We've got our gas line all fused and laid out along the highway if you've been past there. So like I said, the hope is they're gonna need water. It was the main push for this project. So as we were doing it, we thought we're gonna throw in telecom, kind of do it for telecom, because we'll offer them fiber down there at that facility. But we're also throwing in a 4-inch gas main just for future development. So if anything else comes down there, maybe in between Monogram and FS there, we would have those 3 utilities there for them at that point. We've actually upsized that water main too. Right now, they only need like a 4-inch service. We're actually putting in an 8-inch service, which gives us capacity for any future development in that area. Felt that it was economic. We're already digging the trench. We're just talking dollars per foot to upsize that pipe or that material. So it made sense to get that done now. So we're ready for the future. Lastly, if you've noticed down there on Utility Avenue, our old office area, we've got a hole in the building right now. The plan is there. Line of construction was low bid on that project. We're looking at putting a 12 by 14 foot overhead door in the west side of that old building, so we could use that building for cold storage. We'll get our reels of electric wire in there, reels of fiber, transformers, maybe any water pipe, just get that material, which, a lot of that's currently sitting outside now, get that under a roof. Just so we've got it, in a safe area also. So that's what that project's about. Sounds like that overhead door will go in, if it isn't this week, it'd be next week. If it's good, sometimes another rainy day, possibly, they would work on that project, get that door installed for us. But we've got the opening already there, so. That's the updates I got so far. Any questions?
I may have missed it in the previous update. Did you ever complete that lead survey where you're going around doing door-to-door and stuff?
Yeah, actually on that, we were short about 470 homes that we didn't get to in the time frame, but part of that time, or part of the process is the ones that we don't have actual hard information on, we will still work at getting that information. But by the 15th of this month, so we were gonna, and to give us time to mail out, any of them that we didn't get to, we have to send a notification out that they could possibly have, either a lead service line or galvanized line. But we had to give them an actual letter stating that we haven't got to theirs yet to determine that. And that was required by the EPA. Those have to be out by the 15th. We actually mailed them today, just, holidays, and if the mail's slow, we want to make sure that they receive them by the 15th. So we're getting closer. Like I said, there's, I think I asked Don today, like 417 that were remaining. So that we
Finish line is in sight.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I mean,
right?
not bad out of 2,400 or whatever we had to do, so.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
you bet, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe.
We've reached the time and place for any public comments.
Don's time to talk, I think. No?
You're just critiquing and auditing and whatever you do up there, Don, so you're just taking notes, making sure we're
Yeah.
good.
AI, she used AI, so she don't type anything.
She used AI? How do you know she used AI?
AI told it. And that earpiece you got back there.
Don't talk about my earpieces. I got new ones. I can hear everything you're saying now, Kyle. All right, anybody up here?
Good.
Nope. All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.